Hello everyone, welcome to TCS. It's Sarah here, and as you can see, I'm in a different room right now other than my office. And for the sake of the new year and for the sake of actually Christmas, I wanted to do something new. So I'm at my house with my 4 cats. And so this means you can see some cats wandering around. Apparently, maybe, yeah, you can see one right there. So welcome back to TCS. Let's jump right into the case, shall we? So today we're going to be talking about the case of Lorie Isenberg. He went on a boat trip with his wife on February 13, 2018 on Lake Coeur in Idaho. And something happened and his wife actually waited for 2 hours. She had 2 whole hours and she did nothing. So she actually had 2 hours to decide, and once she finally dialed 911, she was talking about some tragic accident and like some romantic trip on the lake. And we're going to be seeing that there is nothing accidental about it, and like her husband was gone and she was like frantically talking about some romantic trip and stuff. And the only accidental thing that we're going to be seeing within this case is going to be that she accidentally thought that she could get away with it. So Lorie Isenberg was a man shaped by the Idaho landscape, tough, disciplined, and deeply rooted in the timber industry actually. He was a forestry expert who built his career on hard work and fiscal responsibility. To Lorie, being a straight arrow wasn't just a face, it was his religion. After a long first marriage, he met Lorie Barnes through the Chamber of Commerce. So when they actually first met, Lorie thought that she's sharing all of her value that he had, and he trusted her with everything that he had, like with his life and with every penny that he had actually. Lorie's past was a world away from Lorie's stability. She grew up in extreme poverty, squatting in empty farmhouses just to survive. This childhood shaped her into a master of reinvention. By the time she married Lorie, she was a pillar of the community, a volunteer of the year, and the executive director of a housing nonprofit. So together they managed like 8 kids and 15 grandchildren, and they had like a cabin full of laughter. They call it paradise. But beneath everything, like it was like a full fairy tale, of course, but beneath everything, like Lorie was hiding like a $500,000 worth of secret. While Lorie prided himself on honesty, Lorie was systematically robbing the North Idaho Housing Coalition. She created fake invoices and shell companies, siphoning federal funds meant for the poor directly into her pockets and those of her daughters. So can you actually imagine the pressure? Like investigators were closing in, and the very day that Lorie disappeared actually was the day that everything was going to be public. And the straight arrow Lorie, if he found out, could you imagine what would have happened? Like she couldn't help, and she couldn't just manage the confrontation, and that's why she chose a darker exit for it. On that Tuesday morning, the couple went out to watch the dawn. Lorie claimed the boat motor sputtered and Lorie leaned over to fix it. She said he gave her a strange look, something like a stroke, and fell into the 40-degree water. So you know what the red flag for this case is? She didn't call 911 for 2 hours. When rescuers finally found her, she had a bloody nose, which she claimed came from her desperate attempts to save him. But why the delay? In water that cold, you don't have hours, you have minutes. 2 weeks later, Lorie's body was recovered. The cause of death wasn't drowning. It was diphenhydramine toxicity, a massive overdose of Benadryl. His blood levels were 7,100 nanograms, a concentration so high it could only be achieved through deliberate massive ingestion. The romantic sunrise was actually a setup, and the strange look Lorie actually described was a man having a stroke from a deathly poison, and whilst her wife is watching over and waiting for the clock to run out. The investigation turned digital, and it was devastating. While they were on a bucket list trip to Florida, Lorie was Googling drowning, currents, and deep water. Even more chilling, Lorie had complained to his doctor about the feeling foggy and having shakes during their travels. Was she microdosing him before the final act? And there was this text message where a friend received a text from Lorie's phone with full of emojis, but Lorie never used emojis, but Lorie actually used them constantly. So was she like ghostwriting his life before he was even buried? Investigators then found Lorie's handwritten will. It had been altered to give 80% of his assets to Lorie's daughters, leaving his own children with almost nothing. When the murder charges were finally filed in 2020, Lorie was already serving time for the federal fraud. You know what? She even disappeared when she was out on bail and triggered a manhunt. One of her own daughters, Chrislyn, had posted a $70,000 bond. When Lorie fled, she left her own daughter financially ruined. She didn't care who she hurt as long as she's free. Lorie entered an Alford plea, acknowledging the evidence was enough to convict her without admitting guilt. Her final story in court was her most desperate. She claimed she wanted to kill herself that morning, and Larry accidentally drank the poisoned water. So the judge actually saw through it. The Google searches, the 2 hours delay, the altered will, it all just was a calculated murder. Larry's own stepdaughter, Amber, stood in the court and said, "We do not support her. We do not stand by her." Lorie Isenberg now is serving life in prison, eligible for parole in 2050 when she's going to be 97 at that time. But for Larry's children, Dean and Jessica, the hole in their lives can never be filled. So Larry actually was a man who loved his dog Echo, who loved his grandchildren and kids and everyone, including in her family. He loved everything. He loved the sunrise, but he thought he was in paradise. He could not even imagine that the person who is sharing the bed with him is going to be the architect of his death, actually. So I believe that's all for today's case, and thank you so much for watching TCS. And if you enjoy true crime and if you want me to do more, just don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I'll leave a comment down below or something. Bye bye, see you in the next video.